This series has been a walk through sections of Paul's letter to the Christians in the region of Galatians. And chapter 5, verse 1 is really the thesis of the whole letter. Galatians chapter 5, verse 1. So Christ has truly set us free. Now make sure that you stay free and don't get tied up again in slavery to the law. I was telling Samuel last night, we're sitting on our couch home, and I was telling him last night that the amount of people who reach out to me, non-local people I've never met, who reach out to me because they're in need of some sort of help, has really escalated in the last few months. I mean, it's always been there. I've always received a lot of correspondence from people around the world. But for some reason, over the last few months, it's really, really escalated. There are a lot of people who are struggling in a lot of different ways, some serious stuff. I mean, I talk to people every week whose life is unraveling in one way or another. And I wrote some of these down just so that you would know. Just this week, I heard from an angry and brokenhearted husband trying to hold his family together after his wife's affair. A mother who is facing homelessness. A father whose son won't let him see his grandkids. A musician who feels crippled because his hard work is being publicly blasted. A wife who doesn't want to be married to her husband anymore after 25 years. An aging widower who is struggling with loneliness. An older gay man who was married for years to a woman and came out recently and is now trying to repair his relationship with his kids. I mean, that's just a snapshot of the stories I get. All of the ones that I talk to this week and all of the ones that I talk to regularly, all of them long to feel free from whatever is making their lives hard and harrowing right now. All of them. Some are dealing with health issues. Some are dealing with relational issues. But all of them are really struggling to feel free. They want so bad to feel free from whatever is making their life hard right now. They all feel enslaved in some way and are dying to feel free. All of them. Religion doesn't help these problems. It doesn't. In fact, it exasperates these problems. Religion can't help because religion answers all of these problems with law. All of them. Religion answers all of these problems with law, focusing on what went wrong, what needs to be done to fix everything, to make everything better. It puts the onus on us to fix what's broken, to right what's wrong, to make things better. But God's main mission in our lives isn't to make us better, whatever that even means. And everybody's got a different definition for that. Different cultures have different definitions for that. God's main mission in our lives isn't to make us better, it's to make us free. And the law can't do that. Paul has been hammering that home throughout this letter, that the law cannot do what we think it can do. It can't make us free. We oftentimes think that the best way to fight immorality is just to communicate more morality. Or the best way to deal with lawlessness is just to give more law. In other words, we trust the law to do what only the gospel is capable of doing. And Paul's been making that distinction throughout this letter. In fact, the ways that the law tells us to cope with pain and loss make the problems worse. I mean, the law says to people in pain, to people who are suffering, either because of what someone else has done or because of what they've done to themselves, the law says, quit crying and get down to the business of fixing things and making things better. The law never listens, it only talks. And sometimes it sounds really spiritual. We've heard this version of it, perhaps in church or from other Christian people. God is in control, so cheer up. Things could be worse. After all, there are a lot of people who have had it worse than you. Okay, that's the law. Have you ever felt like you couldn't share the details of a difficult situation without someone immediately offering a solution or some spiritual platitude? And you know as well as I do, that doesn't bring relief. It only makes me feel heavier. So if you're struggling with guilt, the law makes you feel more guilt. Well, just get it right. Fix it. Do something. If you're struggling with regret, the law makes you feel more regret. Well, if you had done things differently, it wouldn't be this way. If you're struggling with shame or sadness, the law causes more of both. It doesn't solve the problem, it highlights it. It's like telling a drowning person to paddle harder and kick faster. That's what the law does. Years ago, I read a description of what it feels like for depressed people to try to cheer themselves up, and it's the best description I ever read. The person said, it's like a person with no arms trying to punch themselves until their arms grow back. The law just tells us to paddle harder, kick faster, stop drowning. All law, all debilitating, all hurtful, all unhelpful. So throughout this letter, Paul has been showing the impotence of the law to heal and to help. That's not what it was designed to do. God's law is God's tool to expose our need for Him, not to make us better. God's law is God's tool to expose our need for His grace.